sometimes you got to step back and say, why is it that we're doing what we're doing? And how is it that I need to rearrange things to move forward in my life that I can be more successful than I am today? And frankly, it's not complicated.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast.
Minisode.
I think language is important. I'm of the belief that words mean something, and sometimes they mean more than we attribute to them. I want to talk about 3 words today that we throw around quite often that actually have very different meanings, but I think sometimes we interchange those. But how we look at the language that we use, I think, makes a difference on how we act and the success that we might find in our lives, in our business, in our family, our relationships, our health, and other things. I want to pause here, of course, to remind you that the other thing that really matters in my life, not just language, but the technology that I use that allows me to be able to do more. This stuff does make a difference in how I manage my business, and that is ANOW software. ANOW was invented by appraisers to help appraisers to be able to focus on their work and also run their business at the same time. It's what I use to manage my business. Again, it's ANOW software, and you can find it at anow.com/coach. One more time, it's anow.com/coach. Folks, as I have an opportunity to coach, mentor other appraisers across the nation, I find that it's really interesting the language that we choose to use. And sometimes, in fact, most times, I think the language that we use is somewhat subconscious. But it does have meaning when you stop to reflect on the words that we use and why we use them, what they actually mean. And I want to use or define, if I can today, 3 words that I think do make a difference. And as we use them, as we start to step back and maybe question a little bit as to why we do what we do, I think it makes a difference on how we move forward. The 3 words are why, what, and how. Why, what, and how. And as we start to determine the actions that we take, the thoughts that we have, the principles that we base these things on, I do think it makes a difference. I think it makes a difference on how we look at the world, how we look at our business, how we look at ourselves. Let me share with you something that I've alluded to in the past, but I think it's so important because one of the questions that I get asked on a pretty regular basis when I'm doing mentoring is, Dustin, I want to be successful, but I don't know how to get to that next level. I don't know how to take that next step. And I'll tell you, the answer a lot of times, folks, is not as complicated as it looks. The answer sometimes is found in just stepping back and saying, what are the reasons that you do what you do? Because here's the deal. Most of the world, and you've heard me use this percentage before, and I think it's so true to form, 98% of the world just kind of goes through the motions. 98% of the world just kind of gets up every morning and maybe gets in their car and commutes to their job and sits in their cubicle and does their thing. And in appraiser terminology, a lot of times we just get in this mode of setting up our appointments, going out and doing our thing and, pulling comps and making adjustments and, getting the revision requests done that come in the door. And then we try to close it off at a certain time every night and have somewhat of an evening before going to bed, waking up the next morning and doing it all over again. Now, folks, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong. In fact, there's everything right with getting your job done. But sometimes you got to step back and say, why is it that we're doing what we're doing? And how is it that I need to rearrange things to move forward in my life that I can be more successful than I am today? And frankly, it's not complicated, because what separates the 98% from the 2% is that the 2% do two things. Number one, they question their why. And number two, they take action once they decide why it is that they do what they do. In other words, it's not enough to have the principles, but you've got to take action on those things. And so I want to break down these words today because I think any of us, myself included, can benefit from the working on it, not in it activities of stepping back and asking ourselves to separate the why, what, and how. The why, what, and how. Okay? First of all, let's ask ourselves why it is that we do what we do. And again, with that comes the what. Okay? And then we go down into the least important, which I think sometimes people think is the most important, and that's the how. The reason I think it's the most important to some people is I get asked this question on a frequent basis, and it's not a bad question to ask, but I think it has to start with the why and the what. Because the question that's often asked is, Dustin, can you teach me how to be successful? Can you teach me how to be more efficient? Can you teach me how to be more streamlined? Can you teach me how to get off at 5 o'clock every day and to not work weekends? Dustin, can you teach me how to make more money? Dustin, can you teach me how, fill in the blank? Well, in order to teach you the how, that's actually the easy part. Let's back up to the what, and let's actually begin with the why. I want to pause here and ask you why it is that you are doing what you do with your business management for just a second. How is it that you manage the activities that happen in your appraisal world, your appraisal business? How do you keep track of the orders? How do you keep track of your schedule? How do you keep track of the paids and unpaids? How do you keep track of each and every step along the, what I call the conveyor belt of the appraisal business or the appraisal process? How do you do that? And what is it that you're doing? And more importantly, why are you doing it? Have you considered the fact that ANOW is designed around the why? ANOW is designed to take care of the how and the what so that you can focus on the why. In other words, as a business owner, you don't have time to deal or to crunch numbers and to analyze. You simply want to go right to the answers, and ANOW allows you to be able to do that. anow.com/coach is the URL that you're going to want to use because it gives you 3 free months of a full quarter of the All-Star team absolutely for free when you try ANOW out. Check them out. Go to anow.com/coach. One more time. It's anow.com/coach. All right, folks, let's talk about these words. Let's just break them down a little bit. This is the way I see these 3 words. Why, what, and how are different. And I know that you know that why is different than what and how, but sometimes we mix up the what and how. This is how I see it. Okay, I'm going to put it in an alliteration term. Okay, we're using the letter P today. That's the letter of the day. Okay, why to me is principles. Okay, why to me is principles. What is practices. Okay, and then how is procedures. So why is principles? What is practices? How is procedures? A lot of times I get asked the how question. What is it that you do, or how do you do it, Dustin, in your job? We have to start at the beginning. Okay, so let me give you an example. Principles to me, and this is something, let's just use a hypothetical outside the appraisal world for just a second, and then we'll bring it home. Outside the appraisal world, your principles might be family. Okay, your principles might be the importance of relationships, family, spending time with family. Okay, that might be your why. Okay. So what or your practices, okay, let's say that your principle is spending time with family. That's your why. Your practice might be taking a vacation every year. Okay, that might be your practice. You have a practice of every year you take a family vacation so that you can grow your why, your family time together. Okay? So the most important part of this process is the family. That's the principle. That's what the foundation is. Everything is based on the principles. Family. What is I take a family vacation every year, and how, again, how equals procedures. How is, airplane. Okay. So in other words, principle might be, I love family. I want to spend time with family. I want to grow my relationship. That's the why or the principles. The practice is, or the what is, I'm going to spend time as a family and we're going to have a family vacation every year. That's the practice. The how specifically might be, we're going to fly to Hawaii on an airplane. That's the procedure. That's the how. Make sense? Okay. So let's now start to put these into practice when it comes to your appraisal business. So the principle or the why might be spending more time or having more freedom. Let's use that. Okay. Having more freedom in your life, having more freedom to make your own schedule, having your own freedom to have the finances that you need to do the things that you want to do. This is the why. This is the principles. Okay. That's the thing you're working toward. What is I'm going to do 20 appraisals per week. Okay. This is the practice. That's going to allow you to have more finances and more time to spend with your family. Okay. Now we get into the nitty gritty. This is the boots on the ground. This is what they call the tactical, okay, or the procedures, the how. How do you do that? Well, I'm going to hire a virtual assistant that works for me in the Philippines, 40 hours a week. And this individual is going to do X, Y, and Z. This gets into the nitty gritty procedures. Okay. But those procedures, what happens is we put, as my dad used to say, "Oh, put son, you're putting the cart before the horse." Whatever, Dad. I don't ride in carts and I don't have a horse. But his point is sometimes we put the practices and the procedures in front of the reasons or the whys, the principles. Okay. Now, this doesn't have to just apply to your appraisal business, but for purposes of today's podcast, think through what is it that you want. But you've got to start with the foundation. You've got to start with the why. With everything that you do, everything, okay? Not most things, everything. With everything that you do, you've got to define the how, what, and why. This is what separates the 98% from the 2%. Those that are successful base their what and how on principles of why. And so a lot of times with my coaching clients, as they come to me and say, "Dustin, I want you to teach me how to fill in the blank," or "I want you to teach me what, fill in the blank." I have them step back and just go through this mental exercise of first deciding the why. Now, by the way, most people actually have a why. It's not that they get to the what and the how and they say, "Well, gee, I don't even know what my why is." The point is they have a why. They just haven't thought about or defined it properly. Because once you do, it does make a difference. And what you do is you'll find a shift sometimes. Okay. Let me give you a quick example. I had an opportunity recently within the last 6 months to do a series of coaching with an individual that will remain anonymous, obviously. All of my coaching experiences are confidential. And this individual was trying to make a very major life decision. The decision was all about whether to keep utilizing the practice of running his own appraisal business or to go to a staff position that he was being offered. Okay? And so he came to me and said, Dustin, this is a major life decision for me, and I want to know what I should do. Okay, great. Let's stop for just a second and let's back up and ask the why. And we actually spent more than one coaching session on the why and really digging in and finding out what his future looked like based on the why, or why it is that he's doing what he's doing. Now, long story short, he came to me with an idea of what he wanted to do. It's not important what that decision was. But by the time we were done with our coaching sessions, he had done a 180. Now, this was not me encouraging him. This was not me pushing him. I don't care. I don't have skin in the game. As a business coach, it's not my job to give you the what or the how. I'll help you with that. But more importantly, it's my job to help you decide what your why is. And once he had decided what his why was, even though the what and the how looked very clear in the beginning, it looked complete opposite once we were done. Because he realized that the what and the how of where he was going did not coincide with his values, his principles, or his foundation, the why. Folks, it is an interesting experience when you start to step back. You've heard me talk a lot because I cannot recommend it enough about the importance of taking time regularly, and I would say weekly if you can do it, to spend time working on your business, not just in your business. And I've been asked, Dustin, what do you do during that time? Well, there's a very long procedure that I go through, okay? And we've talked about it on this podcast, but one of the things that I do is ask myself, why? Dustin, why is it that you are doing what you're doing? And I'll tell you, that experience helps you to make decisions that you might not otherwise make. Frequently, I get offered money to do certain things that look pretty good. For example, just this morning, I had an order come in. It was a bid order, and I looked at it and I thought, it's very tempting to accept that order, but it goes against my why. My why is spending less time boots on the ground, not more time boots on the ground in the tactical of the appraisal world. And so I bid that order accordingly. Now, I haven't heard back yet, but I highly doubt I'll get the bid. If I do, however, it's very much fitting into my why. In other words, the way that you're going to start bidding the fees on your appraisal work change when you start to decide what your why is. In your life, where is it that you're spending your time? More importantly, are you on a regular basis stepping back and asking yourself, why? It may change the way that you live your life. Folks, if you're interested in my personal one-on-one coaching, it's something I love to do. I love getting to know you. I love getting to know your life and your goals and your why, and helping you to design a lifestyle centered around freedom, success, making more money, having more time. It is a joy to me. I would love to do it for you. Reach out to me if you are interested and desiring to move forward in your life. It would be my pleasure to assist you. Thank you for joining me, folks, and we will catch you next time.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.